Hello students. So in this video we are going to talk about percentages, which is the chapter 4 of grade 9 mathematics textbook. So percentages are used in various day-to-day scenarios. For example, for you to calculate the profitable uh, transaction, you need to understand first profit and loss, and obviously you also need to understand uh, profit percentages or loss percentages. Percentages are used in those scenarios as well, and percentages are used in calculating various discounts and commissions too. So this chapter in this textbook does a very good job explaining about these things with various practical examples. So we'll also dive into those things. We will not cover all the examples that they have given, but let's take a few exercises and do that. But let's understand about profits and profit percentages and so forth by looking at a few examples, and then let's dive into the exercises, and that way you will grasp the idea of percentages very well. So let's look at this example number 3, which says a vendor buys a stock of 100 mangoes at the price of rupees 20 each and decides to sell them at the price of rupees 18 each due to the fruits being damaged during the transportation. So that can also happen. Now a fruit seller, for example, that person might have purchased one mango uh, each at rupees 20, but because it's getting damaged or getting a little ripe more than what it should be, you might decide to sell it at 18. Otherwise he will have to throw away all the mangoes without being able to sell. So he's actually making a loss in this case. Now the question is about uh, you know the exercise example doesn't ask a question, but it says calculate the loss incurred by the vendor. So how do you say one mango he purchased at 20 and now selling it at 18? For each mango he is making a 2 rupee loss, correct? And now he has purchased 100. So for each mango 2 rupee loss, and for 100 mangoes loss equals to 2 times rupees. Basically don't have to write rupees here. 200. So 2 times 100 is 200. So 200 rupee loss is what he is making in this particular transaction. Okay, so let's look at uh, an exercise right away. So these are the type of things. So let's do this example or exercise number 4 maybe. How do we go about doing this? Let's do that. So when you're trying this, you have to write, okay, I'm trying the question number 4 here. A vendor buys a stock of 50 kilogram of beans at the price of 60 per kilogram. So you can also write it this way, rupees 60 per kilogram. Now this is rice, is purchasing rice 60 per kilogram, but he is buying 50 kilograms overall, right? And on the first day he sells 22 kilograms of beans. Actually not rice, it's beans, right? So let's say beans. It doesn't matter whether it is beans or rice, but calculation remains the same. But on the very first day he sells 22 kilograms out of this 50. 22 kilograms is selling at 75 per kilogram, which is good, right? 75 rupees 75 per kilogram he's selling on the very first day, right? And then on the second day he sells the remaining, which means how much is remaining. If he sells out of 50, if he sells 22 on the very first day, 28 kilogram is remaining, and he's selling that according to this on the second day he sells the remaining stock at the price of 70 per kilogram. So it has reduced, okay? This is just day 2. So by 2 days he has actually finished selling all the beans. So now the question number 1, in the main question 4, sub question, calculate the profit earned by the vendor on each day and determine on which day he earned a greater profit. So let's do day 1. Day 1, what's his profit? So in when he sells at 75, what is the profit per kilogram that he is making? Per kilogram he bought it at 60, now he's selling at 75. Per kilogram is making 75 minus 60 per kilogram, which is 15 rupees per kilogram. He is making a profit, and he's selling 22 kilograms overall, so he's making a profit of 15 rupees. 15 times 22, right? So 20 times 15 is 300, and then another 2, which is 330 rupees of profit is making on the very first day. And the second day he is making 70 minus 60 is 10 rupees a kilogram. Likewise, he is selling 28 kilograms per kilogram, 28 kilograms. Okay, so 28 times 10 is the answer. So rupees 280 is making a profit. So which day is making the highest profit? Day 1. Day 1 is making the highest profit. So this is the calculation for our first question. Second question, calculate his total profit. It's the addition of these two, isn't it? Okay, so how much is that? Rupees 330 plus 280, which is equal to 610 rupees of total profit he is making out of this deal, which is great. Okay, so next up, let's do another question, maybe question number 7, or let's do the question number 5. So I'll leave that to you. The production cost of a cane chair is rupees 650. A manufacturer produces 20 chairs, so production cost. So question number 5, production cost of one chair is rupees 650, and he is making 20 such chairs. So total cost, if you want to calculate, this is how you calculate, right? So but let's not rush to calculate that, because we might be able to solve it in a much easier way. So he expects to earn rupees 7,000 by selling all the chairs. In order to do this, what should be the selling price? No, he wants to make 7,000 rupees as his profit. So definitely he wants to sell more than 650. Each chair he needs to sell at more than 650 rupees to make a profit, first of all. So let's imagine that price being X, and then you subtract 650 to find the profit of one single chair, and multiplied by 20 will take it to the total profit. So this profit is expecting it to be 7,000. Then what should be the selling price is actually finding this X value, right? So how do we calculate? So you can get rid of these tens. Then 700 divide by 2, you have to take it that way. Then x minus 650 is 700 divided by 2. We are taking this 2 here, this 2 here. So which is 700 divided by 2 is 350. Then x is, you have to take this 650 onto the other side. 350 plus 650 is the answer, which is 0, 5 and 5, 10, 7 and 3, 1,000. So each chair has to be 1,000 rupees for him to make 7,000. Now reverse think about that. If he is selling at 1,000 from one chair, with each chair he is making 350 rupees of profit. Then he has 20 chairs, 350 times 20 is 7,000, which works well. Perfect. So next thing is about now we just calculated the profit and losses, those kind of things. Now it's easy how to do that, but how do we find which transaction is more profitable or which transaction is more loss making? So for that we need to calculate the profit percentages. So that's what we are going to look at in the 4.2 section. So let's do an example right away, and that way we will try to exercise right away, that we will understand better. I recommend you to go through these examples also if you have the textbook with you, and let's try to go right away to maybe this question number 4. Let's do that. Okay, question number 4 is, vendor buys a stock of 100 mangoes at the price of 18 each. So question number 4 is buying one mango at 18 rupees each, and he is buying 100 mangoes, is how much rupees? So 100 times 18 is 1800 or 1800. He discards 20 mangoes due to them being spoiled and sells the rest of the stock at the price of rupees 30 per fruit. So now he discards 20 out of this, so he has only 80 to sell, right? He has only 80 to sell, and now he's selling one of these 80 at rupees 30. So how much he is making out of all of this? 30 times 80 is rupees 2400. So he's making a profit, right? So determine whether he has earned a profit or incurred a loss. Yes, he has earned a profit. He bought total of 1800. Now he spent 1800. Now he's making 2400 from just 80 mangoes, which is a good transaction for him. So his profit is how much? Rupees 2400 minus 1800, which is rupees 600. Okay, so this is the answer for his first question. Second question is, what is the profit loss percentage? So it's basically a profit percentage. You write it this way. Percentage sign is something like this. You can also write it that way, or you can just write it in words like this. But in to make save time, you can also write it like this. So profit percentage is calculated as your profit divided by your initial cost, which is 1800, and you usually multiply this by 100 to get a percentage value. So the value for this is so 1 in 3. So 100 divided by 3 is 33.33 percentage, something like that, roughly. 100 doesn't equally divide by 3. It's actually 33.333333, and it keeps on going. So we can just round it to just 2 decimals, then it is just 33.33%. So that question is done. So then we'll focus on maybe question number 8, and that way we will understand one more example. Okay, continuing. Question number 8. A carpenter spends rupees 1800 in producing a chair. So question number 8, one chair, he is spending rupees 1800, 1800 rupees. He sells the chair to a vendor at a profit of 20%. So one chair, so he's making 20% profit in selling this chair. The vendor then sells the chair to a customer to a profit of another 20. Now, this is the carpenter. This is the vendor. Vendor buys 20% higher. So, what is the profit that the carpenter is making? So, you can calculate that as 20%, something like this. So, you can 18 times 20 is rupees 360. 360. So the vendor is buying it at how much? 1800 plus 360 rupees. 2160 is what the vendor is buying at. Okay, how does the vendor spend to buy? How much does the vendor spend to buy? So this is the amount that we just calculated. This is just one way of calculating. So another way is to find, just do this 120. This value will straight away get into this value, because he's making is giving a 20% profit to the carpenter. Means for you to calculate this value, you can find 120% of the original price is what he is buying at. So that way also you can calculate. Otherwise you can calculate the profit like this and then add the profit, or right away you can calculate this way also. Calculate it and see. This is question number 1. Question number 2: how much does the customer spend to buy the chair? Okay, now the vendor sells the chair to a customer at a 20% profit. So you can use the same logic like this. Maybe we'll do that. 2160, 120% of that value is what uh, the customer is buying it. So we can just do this. We can cut this value. 216 times 12. How much is that? So 216 times 12. 2 times 6, 12, 1, 2 times 1, 2 and 1, 3, 2 times 2 is 4, 432, then 1 times 6, 216, 2, 9, 5, 2. So he is buying at 2592 rupees. The customer is buying at 2592 rupees. Write the reasons whether the carpenter or the vendor earns a greater profit. Who earns the greater profit? It's an easy answer here. Both earns the same profit. Uh, I know the question is about who earns the greatest profits, right? So profit here he makes is 2592. Then you minus this value. Then 9 minus 6 is 3. 432. He's making a 432 rupee profit. The carpenter made only 360 rupee profit. So actually the vendor is making the highest profit, right? He's making the highest profit. But which transaction is more profitable? If somebody asks which transaction is more profitable, both transactions are equally profitable depending on the amount they spent. Because in this case also he is making 20% profit, in this case also he is making 20% profit. Both are making same profit percentage. So transaction wise, both transactions are equally profitable, even though the vendor is making higher profit. So that's how it works. Now percentages are also used in calculating discounts. For example, when you walk into a retail store like a supermarket, sometimes you see um, some stuff like maybe butter or cheese is sold at 10% discount, or milk is sold at 15% discount, which means whatever the original amount, they have reduced that value by 15% to make the make that particular item sell faster than the usual case, right? So that kind of thing also you can do. For that also, let's go into the exercises and then we'll cover one of that, and then that way you will understand the scenario. Okay, let's try maybe question number 4. A seller of bicycle buys a bicycle for rupees 8,000 and marks its selling price so that he earns a profit of 25%. So he buys a bicycle at 8,000 rupees. So he marks, this is the original price that he bought the bicycle with, but he wants to he marks, or he just display the price of the bike with a 25% profit. So what's the price that he has put? You can calculate it this way, right? Just like what we did earlier. So um, so 125 times 80. 4, 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20, 8 times 1 is 8, times 2 is 10. So he is displaying the bike as 10,000 rupees, because that's what makes it 25% of the bike. But when selling the bicycle, if the payment is done outright, a discount of 10% is offered to the customer. Okay, find the marked price of the bike. Marked price of the bike is we just calculated. Find the price of the bicycle when the discount is given. Okay, now he's giving 10,000, sorry, 10% discount, right? So to calculate that, you can put 90, because 10% discount means you are, if the price is 100 rupees, you are selling at 90. So then if the price is 10,000, what's the selling? This is how you calculate, because 10 less than 100 is 90. So he's selling at rupees 9,000, right? If the seller marks a selling price so that he earns a profit of 20% on the amount he paid for the bicycle, then find its selling price. That's also easy, right? So if the seller marks the selling price so that he earns a profit of 20%, so that means he's still giving 10% discount, but he wants to make 20% profit anyway. If the seller marks the selling price so that he earns a profit of 20% on the amount he paid for the bicycle, then find its selling price. So what is the selling price? Now it's like this. So now if 8,000, he wants to make 20% profit. So if I just do this way, 960 rupees, 9,600 rupees he wants to get, but in this deal he's getting only 9,000, the previous one. But if he wants to make 20%, he want to sell it at 9,600. But he wants to give 10% when he actually sells it. So what should be the value? 9,600, he has to display at this price, selling price, 110 times 96, right? 6 times 6, 9 and 6, 15. Okay, he has to display it at 10,560 and then give a 10% of that to get to 9,600 rupees. So this is how it is calculated. Okay, I think that's enough of a complex scenario, so we'll leave the remaining ones. And yeah, so that's all that I wanted to cover today on the percentages, and I recommend you to go through the remaining examples given in this chapter and also try out the exercises. That way you will be able to master percentages, and I will see you in another video of common mathematics very soon. Thank you for listening.